Good evening, everybody. It is Monday, April the 27th, 2020, and this is your Mr. Video Game live super show brought to you by Dead Sun Entertainment. Yes, sons, boys, girls, everybody out there, everything out there, welcome to the motherfucking show today. We're going to have a goddamn show, babies. All right. I have no idea what I'm even talking about anymore. I'm high on life and maybe the fumes of being stuck in my room for a bit too long, but that's okay. I'm Slacker Kite. I'm here to press buttons so that the stream makes pretty images into your eyeballs. Of course, with me today, we've got the best boy in the entire fucking universe. It's Brian, aka Wonder Boy. What's
Those
up?
are big shoes. That's a tall moniker to live up to. I don't know if I'm up for it, but I will do my best. I'm here to fail ultimately, but I don't know. Oh god, it's been a week. I don't. Okay, is it just me, or has like this past week been like the hardest of the quarantine thus far?
Yeah, last week sucked ass, but
Like for no like real discernible reason. It's just like for some reason like everybody just woke up. Like I don't know, for me like I woke up like later than I normally do every day and I felt like garbage for it. And then I don't know, I've just felt like sort of like wading through deeper waters for most of the days this week. It's been oh god, it's been a slog. But it doesn't matter cuz I'm happy to be here.
like
Like
I've
always.
got reasons, but man, podcasts don't need to hear my shit. Of course, we also got the second best boy in the entire universe. It's Lady Merwin. Woo!
Second best boy.
The second best boy in the entire universe.
Wow. Also, way too big of shoes to fill. Um, I totally agree with the whole. This past week has just been like blah. Like I spent most of the day sleeping, just off and on today, and I don't know why.
Here, I'll give you this bit of my last week. I was put on new medication. And the new medication is like a cousin to Benadryl. So I have been sleepwalking through the week.
So you have a reason to be feeling drowsy on your feet.
I need to find a way to like ship my jet fuel coffee down to you.
Ooh. You know, we actually have God, what is it? It's like death coffee or something here.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I can't remember. Hollis's girlfriend shipped us some of it, and it's from around here. I can't fucking remember the name of it. Anyway, do we want to talk about video games?
First, though, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How's your wizard kitty doing?
He has basically taken over the bathroom. It is also why there won't be any video on the stream today, because he broke a couple things when I let him into my office. I still have to get I think my ring light is still fine, but I have to actually dig it out from behind the desk, which is going to take work.
Oh no.
Yes, it's Death Wish coffee is the coffee I was thinking about.
Oh, I've had Death Wish. That stuff is amazing.
Yeah, and they're from New York.
Dude.
Keeping it local. I like it.
Hails, yeah. You know what? Gonna put it into the chat. Not a sponsor. Drink you some Death Wish coffee. It'll put hair on your chest. I don't care if you don't want hair on your chest. It'll put goddamn hair on your chest and you want it there. Trust me, it's good.
Great, more things for me to spend money. And Coop, no, it's not the K-Cup jet fuel. I've got an old school Italian style percolator. And this stuff makes such concentrated coffee that it will like just layer in the cup. And it is absolutely incredible. It is the fastest way to wake up.
I have had some of their coffee. It's good. I recommend it. 5 stars. 5 stars. Did I close my other tab with the thing that was in it?
I don't know,
I
but it would
absolutely
not
did.
surprise me, considering how we normally do this show.
Baby,
It's
that
fun.
is. And that was open in a Clo guest window, so it is totally forgotten what I had open. So I'm totally going to go back and reopen the things that I had open now.
No, you do that.
Mm-hmm.
You open whatever you need to open.
Yep, just gonna type.
Kicking it off with a bang right here.
Yeah, absolute just fucking banger of a stream here today. Just
Mhm.
the best, absolutely.
Good thing we have so much to talk about.
Anywho, yeah, so let's get to it. Hey, I spent Sunday on this very stream channel here playing Celeste. And this absolutely isn't the delightful Twitch streamer TGH, who also did a stream with AGDQ for the COVID-19 stream that everyone should watch because the guy fucking knows the game like the back of his goddamn hand, and everyone should play Celeste and watch these good boys and donate money to the COVID-19 relief. Woo! Anyway, it's one of my favorite games, definitely like top game of the year as it came out because the music is a banger and the physics are great. And I love the story to goddamn pieces. So, yeah, play this video game, and you probably will play it better than I do, because I am shit at this video game.
I've tried playing Celeste. I tried it during a stream. I couldn't get past like the first level, or even the first part of the first level. So being able to watch you play it because you have been talking this game up so much, really is fulfilling for me because like now I get to see all of this cool stuff that you were talking about, and I want to see more. You need to stream more.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do chapters like 5 to maybe 7 this Sunday. And maybe later. It depends upon when Goggles chooses to stream. So, Sebastian Fox, thank you for the host. Anyway, yeah. If you want to know more about it, of course, you can follow me on the Twitter, or there is a link to our Discord and announcements about when I'll actually do that here in the things.
No, I absolutely adore Celeste. It's one of those games that I keep going back to over and over again.
Yeah, oddly, like before this, chapter 5 is as far as I've ever gotten. I have watched so many run-throughs of this game. I know like what you're doing like the back of my hand, but I haven't actually beaten it before, and especially like the new levels, I haven't even looked at yet. So, hey, maybe on the stream we'll eventually get to the new levels, and I could see new content. Woo!
I'm curious. I haven't checked out the new levels either, and I honestly that is something that I've been meaning to get to for a while, and have just been really lazy about. So,
I mean,
I'm
the whole game itself is just a love letter, considering, you know, originally they made it free for the Pico 8. And
yeah, I think so.
yeah, just all of this weird shit came out of it, and yeah. But let's get into the actual news. And boys and girls, I'll just level with you. I couldn't figure out a good through line to go through today's set of stories, so we're going to learn to count together. And we're going to start with the 1, for 1 million installs for Google Stadia after putting it out for free this week. They have announced that they have surpassed the 1 million mark.
Who would have thought that all it would take for Stadia to get a large enough install base was for them to introduce the free option?
You know, the option they should have had from day fucking one.
Exactly.
The messaging around Stadia has been so fucked. I remember Playwatch being like, "But don't you have to like buy the kit in order to play it?" No, that's the whole idea. But Google Stadia has had such a bad time talking about what Google Stadia actually fucking is. You think you have to buy the Premier pack and shit. I just bought it because I'm a dumb asshole. But also, I wanted the nice controller because it looked pretty. Meh. You don't need their controller. You can play it with an Xbox controller. You can play it with a PlayStation controller. It doesn't fucking matter.
No, it doesn't. Although I will say the Stadia controller, it does feel good.
Yeah, it feels great in the hands. I really wish I could play more things in Stadia games with it. I've tried to in other things, and they're not happy with the Stadia controller. Maybe in time, but man, that might be my favorite controller of all time, and it's such a shame that it got tied to such a shitty platform.
No, I mean, this makes sense. This makes sense. Like
Mhm.
this is the only way that you could grow not just because of the pandemic, but this is the only way you were going to get to grow the fan base or the install base rather for Stadia. I mean, think back to when we talked about Stadia last, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and we were looking at the survey that was up on the article about people that had already installed Stadia, and it was minuscule, like barely in the thousands. And that is not something that you want for something that has been like heralded as this revolutionary platform for gaming going forward, especially whenever Xbox has their version of it coming down the pipeline fairly swiftly. So I don't know, like this makes sense. I don't know if it's necessarily going to lead to that much, because while you have the service for free, the the games that are offered under the free option are still like something left to be desired. I know that you can purchase games,
Mhm.
obviously, and I know that Hot Destiny 2 is free over here, but other than that, like, I mean, I know for me personally, like, Guilt is still a game. I keep meaning to install this because I want to play Guilt and then uninstall it because Guilt actually interests me somewhat. But I think for a lot of people, that's kind of how they view Stadia right now. Because really, the only thing that I think, other than people that maybe haven't played Destiny 2 and want to get into that but don't have a rig to set up for with that, the only thing that really Stadia brings to the picture here is access to Baldur's Gate 3 whenever that finally drops. Because really, to my knowledge, I think other than PC, like Stadia is the only like quote unquote console that's going to be receiving a Baldur's Gate 3 release. So like that would be a good way to play that game, considering that I don't have a setup that is powerful enough to play that sort of stuff. So that'd be cool, but I also, other than that, there's not a ton to be excited about here. These numbers look great. These numbers look fantastic, but I don't know if they will be sustainable going forward, especially after the pandemic subsides somewhat. Because right now, let's face it, a lot like they're profiting off of the fact that people are sitting in their homes with nothing to do.
Mhm.
And while these install numbers look great, I'd be very curious to see the sales figures that are attached to it, because like you can have 1 million people on your platform playing stuff. That's great. If you're
Mhm.
not selling them product, what good is there really
Yeah,
in a business sense?
because you can get the product and not buy shit. You can just have it there. I mean, that's mostly, if not for Hades, what the Epic launcher's been to me is, a place every week to click a little button and I get a free little game. and it sits there otherwise, and it's a happy little place that Hades lives. I don't even need it for Hades anymore, for what it's worth.
Yeah. I don't know about Stadia. I like free games. I still haven't even bothered to load up their website.
I mean, technically, I could do it right here on the stream, and we could launch into a Stadia game right here from my shitty piece of shit computer, because that's what I stream from, is the dying laptop. Because I'm too lazy to move all of my settings over to the new laptop. I'm a smart boy.
That's what the pandemic's for.
Hey,
You have the time to do it now. Do it.
I do. I just
Don't be
have to.
depressed. Do your shit.
I have to give a fuck first.
No, I feel you.
All right. On to the number 2. 2 for Mario Maker 2. Of course, they just came out with the final update to Mario Maker 2 over at Nintendo Land, and they gave you a whole bunch of interesting things. Makers can make a whole world of Mario Maker games. They've got the frog suit, the Goomba mask, uh, all 7 of the Bowser army, all of the kids are in there, so you can fight any of them. You can power up and be like Mario from Mario 2. And yeah, it's a lot. Though there is one asterisk to this whole story. Mario World, if you make a course, every creator can make one world. That is it.
And throw them at
So, like all things with Nintendo, it's really awesome until you dig into the details.
Yeah, like you can make a whole world, your own Mario Maker 2 game. Just the one.
I was actually really excited until that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you still have the ability to make a world. That's still pretty cool. I will admit that, and that opens up a wide range of possibilities. But it, once again, the same way that we talked about with Animal Crossing, and the limitations there with the online service. Yes, it's a bummer.
Yeah, Coop, it is per account.
Yeah. That's good, at least. That it's per account and not per console like the Animal Crossing situation is right now. But still, like, it's I don't know. It's a double-edged sword in a way. Like, I don't know if it completely negates my excitement for the World Maker mode, but it definitely does cut into it somewhat. Like, because let's face it, like, people that play Mario Maker for an extended amount of time, they are going to be continually trying to do new things and want to update stuff and want to make new stuff. And if you're who would want to invest in making a big world map that you have to completely scrap to build a completely new one? Like, it's frustrating to even think about doing that.
There you go,
honestly, right now, if I'm looking at wanting to create my own Mario world, I have fridge magnets that let me build a level. So I'm just going to stick to that.
I can't get into Mario Maker myself because there seem to be 2 varieties of Mario Maker courses. The boring courses, or the, hey, here's a little C line, and that's where you're supposed to throw the shell. This Z line tells you how and where you're supposed to jump with the coin guide, and you have to make these exact jumps in this order in order to go through our level. And neither of those look really all that fun to me. There are definitely a couple amazing levels in Mario Maker 2. I've seen them with my own eyes. That shit's great.
No, I mean, I completely agree. It's not the kind of game that I would play for an extended amount of time because, like, it just doesn't cater to my desires. But at the same time, it is a immensely valuable tool for, learning game design, learning level design, that sort of stuff, as well as just experimenting with a bunch of different stuff. I know there are plenty of people out there that will tinker with every little nook and cranny that this thing gives them to create stuff that I would never imagine of in my wildest fever dreams. And that's what I really like about the ecosystem that this game creates. And like the limitations suck, but let's face it, like they've really brought Mario Maker 2 back from the brink in a way, because like no one was talking about this game with as much fervor as the original Mario Maker
No.
on Wii U. And the updates from like the Link stuff that they put in the last time around to this stuff, to even the fact that they're offering the olive branch and letting players, like giving them a mushroom that lets their characters look like the character models from Mario Brothers 2. Like the fact that they're actually implementing Mario Brothers 2 stuff into this game shows you like the level of commitment that they have here. And I know this is the final update. I don't know if there's going to be a Mario Maker 3. Like, there might be down the line, maybe on the next console. But I don't know. I think that this update leaves the game in a really good place going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say it's worth a purchase. Myself, I kind of prefer to stick with, Mario World ROM hacks, the Lunar Magic ROM hacks that people have made, just because that community is fucking shit insane and makes some weird stuff with the ASMR hacking. That's not AMR hacking. Anyway, you can basically make Mario World do goddamn anything you want it to, and what I've seen people make with that shit is goddamn crazy. But Mario Maker 2 with that world builder really got one step closer to being on par with the crazy bullshit the online community has pulled for years. So, yeah, the one thing that really stands out to me though is with these big additions, if they ever make a Mario Maker 3, they're going to have to make it even bigger than this. So that's setting a bar for whatever they do whenever there's another one. And you know that with the next console, they're going to make another one. Like, this has been such a big seller for them.
I mean, I don't know if it's a given, but I mean, yeah, it has been a big seller, and Nintendo has not been, has definitely shown that they don't mind letting franchises lie dormant for a while.
Also
So,
true. You're not
yeah,
wrong.
shout out Kid Icarus. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm for sure expecting a Super Mario Maker 3 down the line, but if they do, you are very on point, Travis. Like, they will have a bar to clear that I don't know if they're ready to do on the Switch.
Yeah, it's going to be a good few years. But hey, we'll get that whenever I get my next Punch-Out title, right?
Whoa.
Anywho, what comes after 2? That's right, it's 3.5 for the 3.5 million that Final Fantasy VII Remake has now sold on the PlayStation 4. We talked about 1 million was sold in Japan last week, so that's a little under a third was sold in Japan, but still, that's huge numbers for a JRPG.
No, I mean, I think we speculated last week that the 700,000 that have been sold in Japan, that was definitely going to be exponentially more whenever we finally got sales figures for the rest of the world. And point proven. I think that this was kind of expected. Another beneficiary of the fact that a lot of people are looking for things to do inside of their house, since we all cannot leave our houses. And it really has been like Animal Crossing shifting into Final Fantasy VII Remake in terms of like things that people have been focusing on a lot in terms of what they're playing right now. So this doesn't surprise me at all, especially considering the messaging around Remake about, trying to bring in new players, people that didn't experience the original game back in '97. So yeah, like good on Sony and good on good on Square Enix, not Sony.
Mm.
Good on Square Enix, for putting something out there that honestly, let's face it, for years it was a joke. For years it was just a running joke.
Oh yeah.
That the Final Fantasy VII remake was coming somewhere, blah 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 blah. I'm guilty of it. I stand corrected. I have my foot in my mouth right now. They put out a outstanding product that you know, honestly, like the naming of it, it subverts a lot of stuff, and it's really really rad. My only complaint, I will say this till my dying day: why do they do Barrett this way? Why do they do Barrett this way?
I still think that Barrett actually comes across pretty well after the first chapter.
I don't know. Anyway, well, I'm not gonna let my argument digress into that, into the Barrett thing, because the Barrett thing is there. I've stated my opinion on it. I'm not gonna keep reiterating myself. No, but good on Square Enix. Like I'm happy for them, and it's just gonna keep selling more units because more people continue to talk about it. More people are buying it. Like this number's gonna keep growing, and the biggest thing that this says is that they're going to make the second one. They're going to make the second one, at least.
Oh yeah, we already know from interviews they're already working on part 2, so
yeah.
I'm surprised and not surprised with the reception that it's gotten.
How so?
Well, surprised because it's a remake. And they typically don't do so great. But not surprised because it's a remake and we crave nostalgia.
I mean, you're also true, but like remakes have been, especially 90s remakes, have been really selling lately. So, they struck while that iron was hot for sure.
Yeah, it seems like they took a lot of the Capcom magic from Resident Evil 2 last year and like siphoned it off of Resident Evil 3 and injected it into their promotion.
Well, it's like a lot of us that are affected by this right now, we grew up with this. And so we're instinctively clinging to things that comfort us.
Very true.
Yeah, and this game is definitely comfortable for a lot of people. This Final Fantasy VII kind of defined the genre a bit.
In the West, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the JRPG to end all JRPGs. Like that was the line of demarcation, I think, for mainstream adaptation of that style of game over here.
But yeah, we've talked about Final Fantasy VII enough here on the show. Let's move after 3.5 to, of course, the next number in order, X.
Yes, the number X.
For that new Xbox Series X logo that they have put out. It's just a trademark for now, but I mean, that you look at it, it kind of screams, hey, this is our logo.
See, to me, like that looks like athletics wear branding.
Doesn't it just? Like, this looks like the shorts that I would buy to go to the gym.
I was gonna say like generic, like luggage store in the mall. Like it doesn't. God, I don't know. This is interesting.
And thanks to Reddit for making everyone pay attention to this random ass trademark that a lot of people might have looked over otherwise. But now we know, just like every other developer out there with like a big letter for their name, everyone's deciding for reasons to cut out part of their letters for their logos and utilize the white space.
I don't know. Like, Does this inspire like any kind of excitement for the Xbox brand at all?
Not really. Like, I haven't heard anybody that looked at that and was like, "Oh, this is a cool ass logo." Everyone just looks like, "Yeah, it's a logo. It certainly exists."
It's just, why would you go with something so benign if you're trying to like inspire? Like, we have these are new consoles, revolutionary consoles in terms of what's packed inside of them.
Hmm.
You know, this is supposed to be a time where you're like, I know we're all like suffering financially and psychologically and stuff from the circumstances that we're surrounded by right now, but you're still launching a console this year. You're launching a console in a time period where presumably some of the situations that we're facing right now are going to be like at least alleviated in even the most minuscule of ways. Crossing fingers. You never fucking know.
Just
But
gonna knock on wood like I'm playing drums here. Don't mind me.
exactly. So, but the same thing, like you have to operate like things are going to be getting better, and people are going to be able. There, at least some people are going to be able to buy your product whenever you launch it. And I know that the logo is a small thing, whenever you compare, especially when you compare it to the size of the fucking Xbox Series X that we saw. Like this is going to be like a very small patch on this that giant box that has so many teraflops back into it. But at the same time, this is your branding, and if you get the branding wrong, you are you are not going to stand out in people's minds, and you're going to stand out in people's minds for the wrong reasons. Hence why the initial reactions from all of us, it seemed, are like very and you don't want associated with your new revolutionary console.
And that's just it. Like, this thing is supposed to be the newest, biggest thing. And it's got the most lackluster logo I've ever. I didn't do great in my marketing class in college, but even I know that you need a logo that's going to draw attention.
Exactly. I mean, whenever your logo is not even as eye-catching as the Atari Lynx logo, like what the fuck?
God, I always love trademarks, and when they have to list off all of the goods and services that might be associated with it, and you get down to kites, plush toys, soft sculpted toys, dolls, action figure, bags for carrying sports equipment, namely golf, basketball, and tennis equipment.
I'm partial to rubber action balls. Also, who's putting this on a baseball?
Oh no, it's going to be Xbox Day at Dodgers Field. Like, come on.
Headwear, footwear, clothing, shoes, shirts, vests, sweatshirts, sweaters, sweatpants, shorts, jackets, caps, bathrobes, visors.
Are visors still a thing?
I have a visor. I don't wear it that often. I also got it when I was in high school, but I have it still.
What?
So no, they're not still a thing.
Oh, there
Unless
it
you go to
is.
EDM festivals.
Just going to completely diatribe this cast for my favorite sports moment, literally of all time. Hold on.
I'm intrigued.
Interviewing a UGA fan.
And I've got a crazy Georgia fan.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on, so why don't you tell me?
This is the dogs! It's the Sanford, baby! This is how we do it for the dogs! Go, Georgia! Woo!
Wait, why are you white?
We're getting the red and black going right now. White base coat.
White's just the
White
first step.
base coat. We get a red, and then we get a black going. And that's the dogs! The red and the black! Yeah!
So does the white help it stick better?
Yeah! It really shines when the white is on the base. And then you get the red, and then you get the black. And it pops!
Is that-
It pops like Riddick Curran on a tackle.
Is that why you're so excited?
That's why I'm
There's some
excited.
aspects of
I'm
Georgia that I
excited
don't
'cause
miss.
we're gonna see Coach Rick and the Dogs come out here. They're gonna rip Spurriers. They're gonna rip Spurriers. His visor's gonna come straight off during the kickoff. That's what I'm saying.
Straight off? All the way off?
I'm telling you, the visor is coming off.
Wait, what's this?
That
what's
is
the visor for people that don't know?
that is a communications major that has way too much
You think
natty light
visors are
in
cool?
his bloodstream.
You're gonna find something new when you come into Sanford Stadium in 2009. That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, he's got
I'm
too
really
much
excited
blood
to see
in his
that,
natty light
visor
stream.
just fly off. I really hope that it does for you.
Okay.
Touche.
So if you ever hear me, Spurrier! You think visors are cool? You know why.
Damn it. Oh, sports are dumb. Sports are.
Oh, I fucking love college football for this dumbass bullshit. It's so good. I'm sorry to derail our video game stream to bring up a random ass video about college football, but I know me and Brian will make happy, and Merowyn will just sit there like, what the fuck is wrong with these two?
I ask that every week, but I still love you guys.
You know what though? This proves that branding is key because Spurrier and that visor, one and the same. Xbox Series X logo. It's not a visor.
So Spurrier's visor is cooler than the Xbox logo, you would say.
At this point, yes. At this point, yes.
That's the quote of the week. All right. You know, Coop, that does make sense if Microsoft owns a soccer stadium. They would own a soccer stadium, why wouldn't they? Anywho.
Solid investment.
Hey, you know what comes after X, of course, though? 12.3. For the 12.3 million people who went to the Travis Scott event in Fortnite, making it the largest event in Fortnite and basically gaming history.
Which means Marshmallow needs to up his game to get his record back.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I'm good. I'm let Travis Scott have this and let Marshmello just make his boring beats off to the side. Maybe this is a personal bias. I don't know. Anyway,
I never got into either of them, so granted, I am an old, official with a capital OLD, so I don't think I'm really the audience.
no, but I mean the branding makes sense though because you think about Travis Scott, he's after the past couple of years one of the biggest rappers out there right now, one of the most in-demand producers in a lot of ways out there. He's really awesome in that field, but also has a tie-in to Fortnite. Because if we remember back to the night that Fortnite really blew up in a mainstream way, the Ninja Drake streaming night, Travis Scott participated in those games as well. Travis Scott has played Fortnite and avidly plays Fortnite. I don't know if he still does, but enough to where Epic thought that he was good enough to co-brand with them. And honestly, it doesn't surprise me at all they were able to draw. I think the total number of people was like 27 million over this course of the concert event, but the highest concurrent player count was 12.3 million, which is still fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and attended 45.8 million times over the several virtual, shows that he did.
Yeah, it's crazy. And this is one of those things where when I heard about this event, I had a feeling it was going to draw people because it's Travis Scott and it's Fortnite.
Yeah.
It's two things that draw millions of people on the reg anyway. But it made too much sense to not fail. You know?
To give you an idea of how old I am, when we were starting the stream, Lindsay was like, "Wait, who's Travis Scott again?" I was like, "Oh yeah, he's the guy from The Office, right?" Nah, it's Michael Scott. You goddamn old fuck, get off the goddamn Netflix. Anyway.
Like,
No,
I'm allowed. I don't follow rap. The closest thing I've gotten was like the collab that Bad Bunny did with Drake, Mia.
Mm-hmm. Bad Bunny, rad. Like Bad Bunny.
I mean, like, I follow whatever Doomtree puts out an associated rep from, them, and they have a lot of associated bands, but not the closest following.
I mean, Travis Scott, I like a lot of his stuff. I know that many people point to Sicko Mode as like this magnum opus of modern hip hop. I don't think it's that good, but it's still a all right song.
Yeah,
It's not
Sicko's a fine song. It's okay.
Yeah, it's not the Bohemian Rhapsody of rap. I'm sorry, Pitchfork, eat a dick. But it's still good. It's fine, and I like a lot of Travis Scott's other stuff too. Like that whole Astro World album is really good and very true to his Houston roots, and I really like it. That being said, though, perfect marriage between that game and this dude, and I'm not surprised at all that it drew this many people. And honestly, considering the other Fortnite news that we have this week, it doesn't make me surprised at all that Epic was willing to try and throw something like this out there at the same time that so many people are coming back to the game with being sequestered in home, but also after there was a bit of a kerfuffle about them extending or delaying the next season of the game. For some reason, I can't remember the exact reason why they delayed it, but it was delayed and people got upset because, once again, we talked about this last week, Epic does not condition their fans to be patient.
Nope.
At all. So because of that, like this was I'm sure this has been in the works before all that happened, but this landed right in the perfect time to be a very, very, very good make good for a lot of those people. So, no foul. It was a good idea from Epic.
Yeah, it's positive, and they're definitely doing the marketing well because they're playing to their base. I mean, yeah, you could have potentially gotten, a more marketable person to be your face for Fortnite, but no, go with where your actual fans are, and your fans are going to go for a Travis Scott. It's an easy goddamn sell. Anyway, our next number, 19, and you know exactly goddamn why it's 19, from 13.5 to 19.
I thought our next number was going to be dipshit when I saw this article.
Because the good state of Georgia, our home state, our great Governor Kemp, decided to reopen Georgia, and several other states are following suit. GameStop is now reopening in multiple locations, including our home of Georgia. Italy, Germany, Australia, somewhat makes sense. South Carolina and Georgia. With the U.S. being the epicenter of everything right now, especially in Atlanta. Why are you reopening your fucking stores in Atlanta? It is a commuter place. If it gets bad in Atlanta, that shit is going to spread. This pisses me off because I have a lot of family in Atlanta.
I have a lot of family in Georgia as well, and this whole situation, this before I get into GameStop, because like this really comes back to the Brian Kemp issue, because like we're talking about a dude who supposedly claimed that he did not realize that it could be the the disease could not be spread by asymptomatic people, almost a month after the CDC said it could.
Hmm.
And it's either A, he didn't know that and he's a idiot that is holding currently the highest office in the state, or B, he was trying to minimize the issue by trying to use language to minimize it and was putting people in danger. Once again, highest ranking office in the state, putting its citizens in danger. Either way, doesn't look good. And we've seen these shops, like I've seen barbershops, bowling alleys, all these other retail places reopening due to Kemp's lifting of the social distancing restrictions. And I'm not gonna lie, I think that it is it's not terrible. No. It is a terrible idea. It is a terrible idea. I am completely against it. And honestly, it's just going to make things worse on the businesses that do reopen. Because let's face it, they can reopen all they want. It's a matter of whether people feel comfortable going to these places and shopping again and going out in public again. They are not. I have not spoken to someone from Georgia who is comfortable leaving their home to go to the barbershop or the tattoo parlor or the GameStop for that matter.
Sadly,
no
I
one.
have, especially a lot of older people I know that I work with back home are like, I'm just ready to go back to work. Okay.
God, I get that. I get that feeling. It sucks, especially if you are not in a very financially stable place. I totally understand that. At the same time, though, you have to understand why we're not at work right now. There's a larger issue in play here. It's not about being selfish at this time. And that comes back to GameStop because, look, GameStop sales for the year were already down before the pandemic hit. And I get that they are trying to save this company from death's doorstep. And they are failing miserably at it, might I add. Just looking at the numbers from the past 5 years. They are going to try anything they can to get sales going again. But look, if the pandemic has shown us anything, it is that digital marketplaces are the future. They have been the future for a while, but they are now because people have learned how to use them. People that weren't using them before are learned to use them much more easily due to this situation. And I'm sorry, but physical game sales, Funko Pops, all this dumb bullshit, it's all stuff you can get online. And if GameStop invested something extra into their online marketplace, that would be great. Do that and ship stuff out. It's still not good because a lot of those shipments are probably going to be going through people who are putting themselves in danger to deliver that stuff, especially when it's non-essential. But it's better than going out to the store yourself, especially to a shop that, let's not forget, in Boston, GameStop employees were being directed by managers to use plastic grocery bags as protective equipment when handing products to people for curbside pickup. What the fuck?
I think
that should be automatic disqualifier for reopening that business.
I think what we're saying here is fuck GameStop for not caring about their goddamn employees or the people who do purchase what at GameStop.
No, they don't. They care about their bottom line, and if they actually cared about their bottom line, they would be looking at new revenue streams and new marketplaces as opposed to just continuing to try and be the physical marketplace for an industry that is continually and exponentially moving to digital.
At the very least, provide your damn stores with the hygienic equipment needed to maintain it. Give your employees gloves and a mask and a way that they can keep the number of customers in the store down to the 2 or 3 that can be in a store like this at a time.
But see, here's the thing though, another reason why they shouldn't be opening is that if they're opening and they're taking that protective equipment away from people on the front lines that actually need it, like in the healthcare field, fuck them, because that means they're just dipping into a pool that is already small, where states are having to fight over getting extra equipment because all of their hospitals are underserved.
Well,
Like, it's just, there's no good in this. There's no good in this.
there is equipment that you can have that isn't medical grade. There are gloves that you can have that aren't necessarily medical grade that will help. Cloth masks help. There's a
Yes.
lot of things they could give to their employees that are fucking cheap. A fucking can of Lysol will be fine to help disinfect the store at the beginning of the day and maybe even several times during the day.
No, I completely agree with you on that. There is equipment that they can provide to their employees to help out. Cloth masks are great. They're not medical grade gloves that are perfectly fine to use. But at the same time, eventually, if we don't have enough of that equipment for the medical field will need some of that stuff as well. Not necessarily the cloth mask, but definitely the gloves and stuff.
Mhm.
Because cloth masks, I think a lot of people have gotten good at making cloth masks in this
Yeah.
whole situation. So like that's really cool. Yeah, and like Coop says, even if they had bandanas, just anything to cover up, like, and to provide some kind of barrier, that's great. And I don't know, the GameStop does not strike me as a company that is going to have those things in mind at all in this situation. They just want people selling video games that people are not going to be going to the stores to buy.
All right. We've
Sorry.
spent a good amount of time, both me and you, on our soapboxes here. Let's go, of course, from the number 30. We went from 19 to the number 30, I should say. Because you may remember that Fortnite was pulled from the Play Store because of the percentage deal that Google was willing to give them on it. They were sideloading the game, but Google was not happy with the sideloaders, especially because Google has made it out as if any sideloader is going to be malware. So they have come back to the Google Store so that they can continue to get their mobile version of Fortnite out to the people.
And I actually had a chance to pull it up on the Play Store, and the ratings are abysmal. It's got
Why?
a it's got a 3.1 right now out of 5. I'm seeing a lot of issues with overheating your phones, size of the file, fixing and customizing the controller HUD. Let's see. At last, when I downloaded Fortnite from your website, the game was perfect and was running smoothly on 30 frames per second, but there was a problem. The problem was that it was not downloading HD graphics and the bar stuck at one place. So it's been uninstalled. Like the fact that you need 4 gigs on your phone to run this is terrible.
What's
But
hilarious to me is either it's a 5 or a 1 from most of the reviewers.
yeah,
Checks out.
I'm seeing that people are like getting issues where it's showing an error that they're being falsely flagged as using a VPN.
Yeah, I can see all of these, and especially, God, a lot of people aren't going to have great phones, and man, yeah, but like a 3.6, honestly, on the Play Store isn't that terrible. Like, I'm usually more used to the 4s, but especially with the mass appeal of it, yeah, I don't think that number really amazes me.
Well, from what I'm seeing, a lot of our 5-star reviews are for people who had sideloaded it and were just leaving reviews on Google.
Hmm. It continues to not really amaze me. Yet again, the people who are going to sideload a game like this are probably going to be the people with the better hardware. Once you start getting out to the masses, uh, a lot of mobile games specifically release with very static graphics because a mobile game, keep it small footprint, make it easy to interact with, that sort of thing. And then Fortnite is big and bright and colorful. There's going to be a lot to it.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
the-
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, the battery drain I'm seeing is like one of the main complaints. Like, somebody saying that they had it on the lowest graphic settings on a brand new Samsung S10. It drained the battery 8 to 10% off of one match.
That doesn't surprise me, considering how they want that game to run. You know,
Yeah.
like I get it. Even if you're on lowest settings, like that game is optimized to run at a certain level, and it's going to munch through battery. Like that's just how a game like this is going to be on this console.
Especially like an
phone.
always online game like that is going to fucking kill your phone with the amount of data that's going to want to eat.
Yet PUBG Mobile doesn't have this problem.
That was going to be my exact point next.
Oh?
Because PUBG Mobile, they translated their game over to mobile in a much better way than Fortnite has. I think it's honestly a superior game on mobile compared to Fortnite, because I think it's better optimized. Epic, let's face it, Epic, they put it through the Google Play Store begrudgingly.
Yeah.
They tried to stay away from this to be on the Android, in the Android sphere for the longest time. It would not surprise me if, not that I think there's anything malicious going on or anything like that, but Epic wants you to access Fortnite through their channels.
Mhm.
And, if the Android version of the game is not something that is like super satisfying, people that really want to play it will find other ways to play it, i.e. PC, especially with it being free to play. I don't know. It feels like the relationship between Google and Epic has always been butting heads. Even with this, they're still butting heads, even with this agreement. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's like a little bit of a lower commitment to trying to make this thing be optimized for the Android platform.
Yeah, even their statement on why they're committing is very passive aggressive to the Google Play Store. So, meh. I don't really feel like it's a priority for them.
No.
Though it does kind of suck if that is, how you have the ability to access this game. Still, hey, if you want to get it, you don't have to sideload anymore, and Google will no longer be mad. But hey, let's go to a source that just, oh man, it's the dead horse that just keeps on getting beaten. We're going from 30 to 76. You probably heard about this one. It has definitely made the rounds on the news. There is a bug with the new NPCs what have launched in Fallout 76, where if you die near certain NPCs, they will steal your crap and keep it. You can't get it back. It is just theirs now.
No, this is just the NPC uprising that we've been expecting for decades, because how well do we treat NPCs in games like this?
So you're telling me the singularity has come?
Yes. Skynet has become self-aware. And if y'all don't get that, you're too young.
As if Fallout 76 could not give us anything worse. Ah, God. Are there words for this?
No.
I mean, you wanted to create an ecosystem that made you feel like you were living in Fallout.
Mhm.
I mean, let's be frank. Like, you die in the wasteland, your shit's not staying on that body for long. So if you're looking for realism, because so many gamers are out there looking for historic realism, there you go. Why wouldn't they steal your shit?
Yeah.
What I want to know is if you can steal it back.
I've heard different things, like some that you could kill the NPCs, but some NPCs can't be killed. So I guess it depends.
Yeah, this is a real bummer because I've heard a lot of good things about the Wastelanders update. You know,
Yeah, I
The,
mean,
like,
the
people-
Goggle seems to be enjoying it.
yeah, like people were actually like saying like this is like what Fallout 76 should have been from the first place. And, like people were actually starting to have a lot more fun with it. And then Bethesda just this game cannot get out of the way of itself.
It is, boy, just the funnest dead horse to beat that's ever existed. Moving on to other problems, let's go with 160 from 76 to the 160,000 accounts that have been hacked from Nintendo. Now, from what Nintendo tells us, they weren't exactly hacked in, a surreptitious way that Nintendo itself lost any data, that these were accounts where the passwords were mined from other accounts. The database was accumulated and then purchased, and then hackers began to log in. I, in fact, know one person who had their account hacked, and somebody in Brazil bought $160 worth of Fortnite bucks. So,
Hi, mine was pinged too.
Oh.
I immediately jumped in, changed my password, killed all of the other sessions, and enabled two-factor authentication.
yeah, I do believe that logins now require two-factor authentication until everything is settled.
The thing I'm not thrilled with about that is that it's done through Google Authenticator, which has its own issues.
True.
I would much rather have it done like Sony's, where they'll text you.
Yeah, and oddly, it seems to largely be, as the account even says, or as I mentioned, a friend of mine got hacked with, it's Fortnite V-Bucks that seem to be the largest purchase for these people using this drop of user logins that was provided. So this is another one of those, hey, be careful where you're using multiple passwords. The annoying thing for my friend that what I understand is Nintendo won't give the refund because it was purchased through PayPal, but because PayPal says that you registered PayPal with Nintendo as a agreed party, that they also couldn't give back the money.
Such bullshit.
Yeah. Everyone just passing that goddamn buck.
I see class action lawsuits coming out of this unless they get their shit together.
Well, I mean, that really depends, I think, on how much money people like collectively lost in this. Like, obviously, 160,000 accounts. If every one of those accounts was used to buy like $100 in V-Bucks, like yeah, that's a sizable amount. That's a huge amount of money. I just don't understand why Nintendo would not be forthcoming with trying to refund people who had this affect them. Like, there's a way to certify that some of this stuff was. There has to be some way to determine, whether some purchases were, done so in a way because your account was accessed. And I don't know, like, it's just
Yeah, I would
it's
think
infuriating.
that a guy who lives in New York suddenly getting $120 worth of V-Bucks bought in Brazil might be a little bit of a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because like you can log into your Nintendo account and take a look at the login history. And I saw like 4 logins from the States. And it's like, I don't live in the US.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't think so, but
God, it's just really frustrating to see Nintendo like basically come out with that stance right from the get-go and not just be like trying to defer while they're trying to figure out what to do. Like, if this is going to be their stance on it for the foreseeable future, that's really frustrating, especially whenever every other like major like publisher or console maker or storefront operator has established guidelines for how this stuff works. Not even just basic refunds, but like this sort of thing happening. Think back whenever the PlayStation Network got accessed, that huge breach a number of years ago. Like, PlayStation went above and beyond to try and make things right with the people that were affected. And the fact that Nintendo is just kind of sitting on their hands right from the start, like that is beyond frustrating. It makes me second guess whether I should, really invest in their online stuff personally.
yeah, YouTube's online not terribly great. I use it, but hey, buyer beware.
Yeah.
But moving on from 160, and also, hey, thanks Kelverin for the idea as well on this. We're moving to 2K for that delightful WWE 2K Battlegrounds official trailer.
Oh, God.
Whoop. Let's not play whatever music is on this ad that will come first. But
that's the Predator game.
yeah, Predator looks fine.
Oh no, I'm not saying anything bad about it. Just the Predator game, that's cool. No, so this actually is a long and winding story in some ways. So obviously WWE 2K20, we had some fun with it last year because it launched broken to shit and improved somewhat over time, but still has a multitude of issues, just like pretty much every other WWE game, dating back to almost a decade at this point. And that coupled with, I think, WWE, their current situation right now, like it was confirmed during their earnings call on Thursday that they would not be making a regular iteration of the WWE 2K series this year. They did not explain what the plans were. Shortly after that, I think 2K announced that they would have an announcement on Monday, today. And then that announcement came in the form of WWE Battlegrounds, an arcade-style wrestling game that clearly is not the simulation that the 2K games typically are. And I will say this: the last time that the makers of a WWE video game made an arcade-style fighter, it actually produced a pretty awesome game, WWE All Stars. Like, that game is actually really fun. I'm sad that they didn't continue with that series after that one game that they put out, but it's a fun little outlier in this wrestling game ecosystem that's pretty cool. So it would make sense that if they were going to do something outside of the 2K simulation sphere, that they would go back to the arcade fighter. The problem is that, one, the character models in this game, just from the trailer, look not good.
No.
Not good at all, especially whenever they try and translate like how they build like the super muscular arcadey male fighters to trying to do a similar model for the female fighters. They just don't look right. They have this like weird like chibi look to them.
It's oddly claymation looking.
Yeah, that too. I know someone in the Discord. It might have been
Kelvin.
Was it Kelvin? Yeah, Kelvin compared him to Celebrity Deathmatch, and like it's there. I can see that comparison easily. But the real problem is that, for me at least, it are the people making this game, Saber Interactive, because the last major title that they worked on was NBA 2K Playgrounds, and I don't know if y'all remember NBA 2K Playgrounds. It was supposed to be sort of an arcade basketball game, similar to the attitude that WWE Battlegrounds is going to have. And it was terrible. It was bad all around. It was not fun. It was a slow slog of a game to play for an arcade-style game. And it does not install a ton of faith in me. Looking at them developing another cartoony, supposedly arcade action style a sports game.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty good with the idea of the arcade brawler, but this doesn't look fun. Maybe
No,
they'll
and like,
fix it.
well, here's the thing. All we have is the one trailer to work off right now. So obviously, a lot of the opinions are going to be speculation about what is to come.
Mhm.
But just based off of Saber's previous work in a similar field, I don't have high expectations for it. I honestly think that they would have just been better off letting all the wrestling games just sit on the back burner for the year. And then you come back next year with a much improved WWE 2K22.
I like this idea. No, you've proven you're not allowed to be near the wrestling games. Take a little breather, go to your corner, and then come back when you're ready to give us a decent game.
I mean, the development of the WWE 2K games has been like so all over the place the past couple of years, because like the longtime developers Ukes got pulled and replaced with Visual Concepts, the people that make NBA 2K, and then like a lot of the stuff that they kept a lot of the same stuff from the Ukes games, but tried to implement new stuff on top of it, and it just kind of created this mishmash of a game that isn't really fun to play. And really, the major selling point of the game at this point is the fact that they have every wrestler under the sun that's ever dreamed of wrestling in WWE on the game, and the character creator system is really deep because you can upload like custom logos and custom pictures to put on stuff. It makes for some very weird shit. Shout out to all the people that post pictures of feet on there, but it's there. You can find almost anything you want to help build your created characters and even created arenas and stuff like that. There's a lot of customization within the game, but outside of that, actually playing the game has felt terrible for years. And I have similar expectations for Battlegrounds, unfortunately.
Completely understandable. WWE games haven't really filled me with anticipation for a while anyway, so I would love a surprise, but I don't see it here.
May I just suggest everyone play Fire Pro instead? It's pretty cool.
You might love it if everyone came back to Fire Pro, right?
Who said they left Fire Pro?
But moving on from 2K, we all know that after 2K, all you can really do is go back to 2 for The Last of Us 2. a former employee for Naughty Dog has basically dropped the entire just videos of them playing through the game to YouTube. YouTube has since taken it down, but once it's on the internet, it is always on the internet. So, yeah, somebody who was fired from Naughty Dog clearly had a grudge and decided to just drop the whole thing. I'm not going to scroll any farther down on this because the article does contain an amount of spoilers. You may not want those spoilers, but hey, that's out there.
You know, I would really like to see people actually respond to being fired as adults versus little children who have told, no, you can't have that ball.
I can completely understand why the guy who did this, like, from my understanding of how bad the crunch culture is and to have put that much time and energy into a product like this, it's still a dick move, don't get me wrong. And, you know, it is shitting on all of the people that you worked with. But I understand why. Doesn't mean I like it, but I understand why.
Resistance takes form in many different ways.
Hmm.
Putting my feelings aside about, leaks and spoilers and all that stuff for just a second. If the workplace culture at your studio is so toxic that someone who formerly worked for you felt the need to entirely spoil your major release, that was their way of trying to like respond back to you and hit back at you based off of their experience working for you, that says something about the nature of the culture there.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've heard the stories about Naughty Dog for years at this point. It's common knowledge at this point. And a lot of people I've seen online pointing to Neil Druckmann, not necessarily being the most likable person, both publicly and privately at times. Like this is not necessarily excuse doing something like this because it doesn't necessarily affect just the company, the higher ups. It affects the people that this person, likely worked alongside in making this game or making something else at the studio. It hurts the studio, but it also hurts the people that are not in power at the studio, the people that have suffered alongside you at the studio. So in that aspect, yes, dick move. It sucks. But it does kind of necessitate a larger conversation about, as I said before, what would drive someone to do this. People have been clamoring for Naughty Dog and not just Naughty Dog, a number of other studios. We talked about Rockstar last week and the changes that they've made over the last 18 months to try and make their workplace more hospitable for the people there. Naughty Dog has had reports about that almost as long as Rockstar has.
Mm-hmm.
Naughty Dog hasn't changed shit. We still hear stories, the same stories about the same culture going on there. And look, I can sit here and say that I wouldn't have done this and that there are definitely wrongs here with how they handled the situation. Someone, I can't remember who it was on Twitter, but basically someone said like resistance without organization does no one any good. I do subscribe to that idea. You need to make sure that you organize any kind of response to debilitating situations in a way that addresses the people that it needs to address and omits the people that are not part of the problem. This did not do that. At the same time, though, part of me can't blame the guy.
Yeah.
Part of me can't blame him for trying to do something to hit back at a studio that clearly had a severe adverse effect on him. You know, I don't necessarily like. There might be some like, good riddance sort of situation here as well. Like, with someone just like a spurn ex-worker. I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea per se, but this is still a developing situation. We don't necessarily know all of the motivations at the moment. But yeah, like this, it sucks. It sucks for the people that have been working for years underneath, the creative directors on this game to finally have their hard work kind of unleashed onto the world in an unopportune way. It sucks. It really does. But at the same time, it's really complicated. It's really complicated. Uh,
I think it's a case of congratulations, you got out. Do not fuck over all of the other people who are still stuck there.
Yeah, and especially, what the guy had at this point, if you have this at home, it's going to likely be an earlier build. It's not going to reflect well on the company, even if this was a build as of 2 or 3 months ago that he had. It's just a great way to shit on somebody. And yet again, I don't agree with what this guy did, but I totally understand what leads somebody to do this. Also, hi, Giant Pie. How's it going?
yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if the person who did this really was thinking about the people that they like co-workers, people that were going to be affected by this that were not in positions of power at the studio. And like I said, like that's an oversight.
Hmm.
That's an oversight that should be taken into account. There are better ways to address this sort of stuff. At the same time, though, I think I don't know. It's tough because like I'm all about rebellion. But also like you really have to concentrate it in a way that's going to address the issue full force and in a way that where the messaging cannot be construed differently. Like the fact that Naughty Dog was out super quick with a statement apologizing to fans
Mhm.
about this shows that the way that this person went about things was basically put forth a narrative that was very easily reframed. And you don't want resistance that easily reframed. So like I get the motive. I understand why. There's a better way to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. At the same time though, burn it down.
Both of these things can be true at the same time.
Yeah. It's just this is like your classic just murky situation where no one wins.
But continuing with The Last of Us 2, on a slightly brighter note, we do finally have what should be the final release date for The Last of Us Part 2 of June 19th. From what we understand, the game is at this point done. So, really, what they're doing is building up a physical stock of the games in order to release. And following shortly on the heels of that, as of July 17th, will be the Ghost of Tsushima game, which looks pretty fucking dope. So it's going to be a decent summer for PlayStation fans.
The Ghost of Tsushima date surprises me. I figured they would have pushed that one back closer to the launch date for the PS5 so they could launch that on both consoles. But I honestly, the development, that all relies on what the focus of development was. If they weren't focusing on developing that for a next gen, there's no reason to do that. And based on how long that game has been in development, doesn't surprise me that it's going to get in on the tail end of the PS4 the same way as Last of Us Part 2. So yeah, I'm glad we have concrete dates. That's cool.
Yeah, I just haven't heard much in the way of marketing on Ghost of Tsushima yet, so it does seem a little soon in my head. But then again, it is 3 months out, so plenty of time to build the hype.
there's time, but there is messaging in the fact that there's been lack of messaging around it. I'm not saying that that means that they're not necessarily enthused about the final product, but let's be real. Whenever that game was announced, it was the same year that Sekiro was announced, and a lot of people were comparing the two, like basically like it's the year of the sword. You know, like we had these two similar games that looked similar in terms of motif and in terms of what they wanted to present. Sekiro got out there with its version of it, and I would say that it completely nailed it. And then you go back to Ghost of Tsushima, which is being made by a North American studio trying to make a game in feudal Japan. They caught some criticism for that. In some ways, just kind of like necessarily wondering if they could pull off a game like that, and we'll see if they can. I mean, I'm trying to think, what was the game that the studio made previous to this one? Oh, it's bothering me. I have to look this up while we.
Yeah, and thanks for the 2 month subscription, Giant Pie. Here's the thing, right? Like, I follow these things fairly closely, right? And I don't think I've thought about Ghost of Tsushima since what, the Game Awards last year?
Basically,
E3?
so Sucker Punch is the studio, so they're the people that made like all the infamous games.
Right.
Yeah, which they were good for a while. I think the last one, Second Son, didn't necessarily light the world on fire, but they're competent games. So I'm curious to see what Ghost of Tsushima looks like, but there's a bit in the tea leaves about people not really hearing much about this game so far.
Yeah, it doesn't fill me with confidence. It gives me a little bit of what was it, The Quiet Man, the clunker from Square Enix.
Well, The Quiet Man, that's a completely different beast. The Quiet Man was just like, hey, we can like just drop this 2-minute thing in our E3 presentation and then never talk about this again because this thing is who the fuck knows what this is.
They just kind of mention it and never mention it again, and then it appears like, what the fuck is this thing? Why is this thing? Either way, following up from 2, of course, we end on Eternal with Doom Eternal. The OST has been dropped, and there's been a lot of complaints about the soundtrack. Now, it should be mentioned that the soundtrack to Doom Eternal was created in such a way that no two players are going to get basically the same soundtrack. You're going to get similar sounds, but the guy for each part recorded basically around 4 hours of motifs with different varying intensities for these songs. The guy poured so much fucking work into this so that you could have a dynamic soundtrack. And from what we can tell, whomever really put together the OST for the soundtrack compressed the shit out of it. Now, the good news is, even if you compress the shit out of something, it's still a fucking banging ass soundtrack. Doom Eternal is one of the best sounding games, from both the soundtrack and the visceral noise. The audio technician work is so good in Doom Eternal that it is still a crime to make this OST be not what it could be, but it's still fucking good. I've given a listen. It's fine. It's just poorly mixed.
I don't know. This really upsets me. Like, he put so much work into it, and it was just like they just kind of just tossed it by the wayside.
Yeah, after working on this, Mick Gordon, after pouring basically his life into making this for a solid chunk of time, has basically said that he'll never work with Bethesda again in so many words, and I do not blame him.
Oof. God. Like, why would you do anything to push Mick Gordon away? Like, Mick Gordon, he is Doom.
Yeah. Saying that he won't return to Doom, that is a killer thing to hear, because that he is what made this, like, when the soundtrack suddenly would like pump in, the guitars would start playing and a part, you knew some shit was coming, and then shit came. It is one of the best dynamic soundtracks you will find in video games.
God, this just all around sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I still would recommend buying the OST if you were interested, and it's fine. He did some of the mixes himself, and as well, the ones that were mixed poorly aren't bad. They're just compressed awkwardly. And probably chose the parts of the song that I think a lot of people wouldn't have chose and snipped oddly into it. So there you go. I don't know if that is worth your time or money. I do believe it is on the Play Music Store, at least, or Spotify, or whatever have you. Let me double check on that before I can be certain. So you can look that up. Let's see. Doom by Mick Gordon original game soundtrack. This is the 2016. And if you look up Doom Eternal, you get an album by a band named Royal Sadness. Okay, maybe not Doom Eternal soundtrack on the Google Play Store yet. But hey, the Doom 2016 soundtrack's on there, so that's a definite listen. Oh wait, yeah, actually, this is here. Just on YouTube only. That sucks. Never mind. It just gave me a link back to YouTube, but there you go. That is the last story.
The Doom Eternal soundtrack is on Spotify-ish.
Yeah, I think Brian's mic is open. Me and Lindsay have a little bit of echo going on now. Technical issues are routine here on the Mr. Video Game Live Super Show. Welcome. Either way, that was Mr. Video Games for April the 27th, 2020. And of course, we have Mr. Video Game Award to what give out here. But we couldn't really decide what to go with.
We need your help.
Yeah, so there's two different things that could be Mr. Video Games, and we want you to vote on which one is Mr. Video Games. We're going to start out with this one. For your viewing pleasure. Once, the Reddit player loads, because the Reddit player, as we all know, is just the greatest movie player of all time. And there we go. Good enough. Now, there is that clip, and that is brought to us by Cap'n Cantaloupe over on the Reddits, or a YouTuber. We're not going to go through this whole video because it is a lengthy boy. But let's skip these ads and get to the meats and potato. This man here, and I'll look up his name after this, has basically gone through Death Stranding and has found a way to pee in the snow and write his username into the snow. Now, there is no yellow snow in Death Stranding, so of course video is stuck. I love doing these things live. Let's do a quick switch. No, it does not want to full screen. Sure, why not? We'll just play it within the fucking browser and at YouTube. Sure. Either way, he found that he is really unable to do this in any normal way just by standing and walking around, because you also make footprints in the snow. So what do? You build yourself a bridge with the express purpose of riding off of it with the 100 milliliters worth of water that you can store to do? How is it stuck?
I don't know, but you're doing a very good job of describing it.
But yeah, there you go. And you get those nice, cute little mushrooms in the corner of some of your letters.
God.
This took this man days to perform, as you might imagine. So, he, Reedtay27, has done some serious work in order to do the feat of drawing in the snow something that will go away the moment that he walks away from it. But you can do it, and now upload it to YouTube and be a star.
Can you just imagine his friends talking to him later? So how'd you spend quarantine? Well,
I'm amazed that Hideo Kojima himself hasn't said something about it, because this smells of Kojima all the fuck over. He would be delighted to see somebody taking his two favorite things, fucking around with things that don't have to be fucked around with, and pissing into one homogeneous blob. So I have to ask you, ladies and gentlemen of the Mr. Video Game crowd, which is better? Man peeing in Death Stranding, or Animal Crossing tribute to the Eric Andre show?
I know my vote.
For the record, we'll replay.
It is the vote of culture. And that would be Eric Andre. Because Eric Andre is the highest brow of the lowest brow.
Mm-hmm. I have to imagine the amount of work that this man put into getting just that going.
I love it so much. I can just watch it on loop. Even without the sound on, I can just watch it all day. Oh, God, it's so good.
I think he had said somewhere in the comments that it took him like 18 hours to get this together. And that doesn't amaze me, because you have to get all this shit and then build it in a specific way. And then you notice he used multiple camera angles as well. So this is over the course of multiple recordings that he got this done, put this together just to do that.
It's a labor of love.
Well, there you go. It seems to be unanimous, though, so far, amongst our Mr. Video Game viewers, that Mr. Rite27, yep, that I got his name right, is Mr. Video Game for April the 27th, 2020.
Well, fine then.
I mean, give him actually a look. I did, after I saw this, take a look at a few of his other videos. He gets pretty in depth in some weird things you can do in video games. So yeah, I'd recommend him if you get a chance. Either way, this has been Mr. Video Games for April 27th, 2020. Lady Merowyn, any final stuff for us this evening?
As like always, guys, be cool to each other, love each other from a distance right now, and we're all in this together. The sooner we work together, the sooner this is going to be over.
And announcing Wonder Boy from Washington State.
I'm in Oregon.
I was aware as soon as the W came out of my mouth. Wrong state, dumbass, but I had to go through with it anyway because
That's
it came
okay.
out.
It's okay. It's okay. We have fun here. Yes. Echo Merowyn's sentiments. We'll just keep pushing through all of this. We'll stay safe, everybody. Love y'all. I do have some fun stuff coming up on Outsports this week over outsports.com. We're doing a theme week along with the rest of SB Nation, where we're kind of talking about jerseys and uniforms and like our favorite ones and our least favorite ones and blah blah blah. And I have a few pieces going up looking at that stuff. It's very rare that I get a chance to talk about the Arena Football League, and I got a chance to talk about the Arena Football League when writing about that this week, so that's pretty cool. So you can check that stuff out over at outsports.com. Follow me on Twitter at WonderboyOTM, and as well, you can check out my Queer Pro Wrestling podcast, LGBT in the Ring, every Thursday on the Outsports Podcast Network. Just search Outsports in all of your podcast services. It's there at some point on Thursday. Pandemic has me a little bit off my schedule, so it comes out Thursday. It's not necessarily always there Thursday morning, but it comes out Thursday.
As always, we've been the Mr. Video Game Super Show. If you miss any episode, you can always find recap of all the news that you need to know on the youtube.com/CBGB Games. All of our links are in the doobly-doo down below this video. If you want to join our Discord, where all the week, every week, we are talking about these topics and other topics that may be presented in other news such places, you're welcome to come on by and talk with us. And hey, something you recommend may be on the show. Of course, this Sunday I made continue with some more Celeste streams. I believe it'll be Sunday. From what I gather, Lady Goggles is the streaming. So I'm going to expect to go live around 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern Sunday. I will keep everyone posted on the Discord and the Twitter, but expect to see me Sunday night. Thank you everyone for coming. Namicola, Giant Pie, Calvarin, Coop. I thought I saw John Borg in there at some point. I could be fucking crazy. My mind being exploding. I don't know anymore. Thank you all for coming, even those people who just listen to us. You are all welcome and loved here at the Mr. Video Game Live Super Show. Thank you for coming. Have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow.
Bye.